because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Goats Track podcast about golf and golf-adjacent stuff, mostly from Africa. Good morning, Mr. Hoffman. How are you?
Yeah, good and you. Nice to jump on after 48 hours of some Masters coverage.
It's been a fantastic 48 hours. Mr. JDV, thank you for joining us. I know you've got some both of you juggling some parental duties there.
Sure, Terence. Yeah, it's I heard little Sebi in the background there, so glad Sebi's joining his first podcast.
Yeah, you should have some controversial takes.
You'll probably moan a bit less than some of the players, to be honest.
Well, certainly moan less than Simon Williams.
Well, having a few little boys in the background is maybe a good segue to say we had a few little boys out on the golf course yesterday. It's been a hell of an interesting first 48 hours of the Masters, guys, and we thought this is the first time we've done a podcast mid-major, but there's been so much to cover that we thought we'd just do a quick half an hour, maybe for people to listen to pre the amazing Supersport coverage that we can expect today. What's been your guys, Jock? What's been your biggest takeaway for the first sort of 2 days?
100% the wind, Terence. I mean, I've never been a big wind golfer. In fact, I've been known to throw my cap on the floor and stamp on it like a little kid when the wind is blowing. And it seems like the mole on the ground is telling us the players are reacting in a similar fashion at the moment. I must say I really appreciated when our mole said, players are incredibly angry, and your response was angry with who, themselves or God. So I thought that was about summed up what the fans want to see is players getting angry with what, the conditions. I mean, that's what they're there to do.
Yeah, so we do have we had a mole on the ground in Miami last week, and that same mole has burrowed underground to Augusta this week, and we were having a chuckle this morning because some of his messages, he sounds like he's a bit of a mouthpiece for the players. He definitely felt like I'm waiting for the message for when he wakes up for how unfair it was and how 100% he's going to say they should have stopped play, which. Yeah, he obviously sits on one side of the camp, but from a fan's perspective, I think everyone's saying how it was probably one of the most fantastic and intriguing days of golf at the Masters, probably in the last 15, 20 years. So I think it's pretty clear where everyone else sits. I wanted to read you guys a quick tweet from Kyle Porter. I'm actually not a huge Kyle Porter guy, but I saw this tweet and I thought I have to read this out. He said nothing about Augusta today was tricked up. When it's firm and windy, it's simply the most difficult test. You have to hit filthy, inconceivably good golf shots every hole for 18 straight holes. If you do, you'll shoot something great. If you don't, you'll get absolutely ejected. The best in the world endured an actual examination of skill, but also of mental and emotional control. And I thought that was a pretty good summary of basically what we saw yesterday. Was that there were some guys who could control their golf shots, but not control their emotions, and there were some guys who couldn't control either, and most of those guys got ejected.
Very apt.
Carl, what's been your biggest takeaway?
I've just been enjoying the carnage. I think it's been great. A little bit surprised at the top of the leaderboard. In one way, I thought that Bryson would be one of the guys that would maybe let his emotions get the better of him in testing conditions, and he's come through pretty well, to be honest. Obviously, no surprise to see Scotty Scheffler up there. A little bit surprised to see Max Homa. I'm not going to lie. I know he's been playing good golf in that, but sort of majors is the one time that he hasn't really stood up. I'm sure we'll get onto it. Very, very disappointed with the coverage of the Masters so far. Cheapers, it's been painful trying to get some Masters in before 9 p.m. I'm not going to lie. But I've really enjoyed the carnage. I hope it continues. Maybe even ramps up a notch. I think with the wind being as strong as it has, it's dried everything out, made everything really firm. So long may that continue.
Can I just quickly come in there on the coverage part, Terence, if you don't mind, because I want to just pick your guys' brains to understand it. Hoff, I know that I think you've done some deep dives and try to find out who the commentator that we hear, the continuity guy.
No, it's a different one. This is a different continuity commentator to the normal PGA Tour Live guy. That oak is the worst commentator in all of sport. This oak's not far off, to be honest, but he's as bad.
But I mean, essentially, before 9 o'clock, we get what's called on Supersport the early feed, and I mean, it was 4, 5, 6 yesterday, and then I think they went to Amen Corner a bit as well. But I recall previous years on Supersport, we used to get like 4 or 5 dedicated channels where you could watch like the early feed, you could watch two feature groups, you could watch Amen Corner, or you could watch 4, 5, 6. Am I sort of imagining things, or has that changed? Because now it seems like the Golf Channel as well as 201 are just showing that super cuck early coverage.
I think there used to be 2 feeds. Maybe in years before that there was more than one, but certainly last year there were 2 feeds. There was the main coverage and then like a backup coverage. But this one, this early feed has been absolutely terrible. I mean, trying to keep your eyes open at like 7 p.m. is not a good sign. I think I said it on our WhatsApp group to you guys. I've never watched Jose Maria Olazabal so much in like 30 years as I did in the last 2 days. And I've got nothing. I know I've got nothing against him, but I mean, I'd prefer to see. I think the thing that pissed me off the most is, watching the guys on the first tee is so special, especially at the Masters. And I'm yet to see a single golfer tee off at the Masters, which sucks. And I think even tonight, I think the last oaks tee off at like 9 or something. So it's been, I think, the biggest disappointment. Supersport, if you're listening, please jack your shit up, because us golf nuts are trying to get some early coverage, and it's a real struggle.
Guys, it's been. I think you're going pretty light on them there, Carl. I mean, I think the words you used in our WhatsApp chat last night was diabolical, and I think that pretty much describes it. I'm on a couple of other golf chats, and guys were losing their minds last night. Like from like Friday evening, you get home at like 5 o'clock. Guys want to put the golf on, and we're now sitting on Amen Corner with a bunch of dudes who are like all clearly not going to make the cuts, not very interesting golfers either. It's not like we were watching Tiger or Rory who were not going to make the cut. We were literally watching the mules, like the plumbers and firemen kind of coming through there. I think so. I did a bit of a deep dive last night, Jacques, and you're 100% right. There still are basically 5. What I found out is there are 5 feeds that the Masters produces or the TV production companies produce. So there's a range feed, Masters on the range feed, which we haven't seen any of. Then there's the featured groups. There's Amen Corner. There's holes 4, 5, and 6, and there's holes 15 and 16. That's before you go to the
main feed,
the full Masters main coverage feed, which is the one that we're getting that starts at 9 o'clock. So 100% in years gone by, Supersport have provided all 5 of those feeds. If not 5 of them, they've provided 3 or 4 of them. And this year, for whatever reason, they seem to be stuck with one feed. And I don't know whether they've entered into some sort of like shitty contracts, which included like the PGA Tour plus a shitty version of the Masters. But we seem to have been stuck so far with one feed. And from what I could tell last night, before 9 o'clock, it bounced between Amen Corner, and clearly somebody at Supersport was able to change the feed that we were getting, because then at some stage they jumped back to holes 4, 5, and 6. and
But
we
even-
seem to be jumping between those two.
Even the commentary, Terence,
It was
you could hear
so bad. It was horrific.
The commentary was even bouncing around. So you'd get that like super boring oak. Then you'd get the other two that at some stage were advertised, like these are the two commentators. And then at other stages, there was the commentary team that had Mark Immelman in it. So I think even within the feed, it was bouncing between those other feeds and obviously combining them. But I mean, there was no life to it. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It felt exactly like you say. Excuse me, Jacques, like that continuity commentator on a PGA Tour. But all of them felt like that. Like no one felt like they were excited to be there, and you could hear these roars in the background of like the crowds. Like roaring from a chip in somewhere, and you're like, oh God, like where's that from? But even when it got to the main feed, like I remember, was it last year or the year before? I mean, they had like a super like intense intro with a really cool song and all of that. Now it's just like you sort of just like jump straight in. So yeah, I don't know. It's like disgraceful. Supersport, come on, folks.
And the worst part about it is like you started to realize that you were stuck with this like really shitty like aiming corner, and then that they would put the full scorecard up, and those same commentators like Mark Immelman and them would go, Scotty Scheffler's just birdied the first hole, and you're like, fuck, like I really wish that I could actually watch that.
Yeah.
Like that's so great. I mean, at one stage I got so desperate, I put on the app, on the Masters app, you can put Masters radio on, like, which is actually quite sick, to be honest with you. It's like Oaks commentating like radio commentary on the Masters, and they were covering the whole course. But yeah, look, that's seriously desperate times. Of course, you can go. The Masters app is so amazing to go and watch like replays of exactly what every Oak did on every hole. But like, let's be honest, we don't want to sit there on our phones like having to watch the Masters that way. Like, it was such a joke. Like the just. Shout out to the guys that I'm on this big golf champs pool with, the Pies and Gravy guys. There's 320 guys, I think, in this golf champs pool. I think the pot is at like 50 odd grand, 56 grand or something for the weekend. But anyway, there's a WhatsApp group, which is optional. But I'd say 2/3 of the guys have opted into the WhatsApp group, and Oaks were losing their minds on that WhatsApp group. Guys are like, I'm WhatsApping the chairman of multi-choice right now. This is ridiculous. And some Oaks are like, I know the Oak who works in the studio. And then guys from the Supersport studio were like responding, going, it's got nothing to do with us. And jeepers, it was, yeah,
well, it
wasn't pretty. Eventually, Oaks was sharing like illegal VPN, well, not illegal, but they were sharing VPN connections for like watching through Australia. And it was, I've never, like, generally we actually get, when you listen to the guys complain about the coverage they get in the States and that, and we normally watching the European tour feeds, we generally get really good golf feeds. But I must say it was one of the most frustrated I've been. I actually went onto the Facebook, like, to be honest with you, I actually tweeted at Supersport a couple of times last night from the Go Track feed, and there has not been any responses. But I went onto the Supersport's Facebook page today, and the comments, like, they put up this post, like something like, when you know it's going to be good, watch the Masters on Supersports. And like the comments underneath are just like, actually just slaying them. Like the dude's like, most pathetic coverage I've ever had. How sad. You're ruining a week that millions of us look forward to every year.
Well, at least they know.
It was not good.
At least they know, because I mean, normally, like, it's a couple of you sitting there, and you're like, well, how do you get the message across to them? You know. So at least this is like everyone sitting there, exactly as you say. It literally is like this and the Open Championship and probably the Ryder Cup are the three, most special events in golf that you look forward to. Like everything else is great. There's some lovely events, but this is the creme de la creme. You know. And now you're sitting here trying to keep your eyes open. And your body is conditioned to automatically change the channel because of some freaking, boring commentator. So yeah, look, the coverage certainly doesn't mirror what was happening on the golf course. That's for sure. But if you think about like a casual fan who's like putting it on 213 to see the Masters, he's not going onto the app and doing a deep dive to see what the carnage is like, which is, that's where they're missing out. But Yeah, super.
I mean,
super
we had Tiger trying to make like the setters record for cuts made, and he's literally on the back nine at Augusta, and literally couldn't watch it to the point where they had jumped across to the 4-5-6 feed, and then obviously someone realized, oh, Tiger's actually going through Amen Corner now, and they only picked him up on the fairway of 13. So we literally saw him hit his approach and putt out, and then he was gone again. I mean, it was a really low point for Supersport golf.
Yeah, you saw like 2 shots of Tiger Woods and saw like 6 shots of Olazabal.
Yeah. Olazabal looked pretty clean in that tan. That he was a full like tanimal yesterday.
Yes, I thought he looked. I thought he looked terrific.
I thought it was atrocious. Kath even looked up and she's like, yes, that's a cuck outfit.
No, it looked terrific.
Did you see that little clip of him warming up on the range where he was like shaking his hips?
Yeah, it was like
so good.
It was like a weak version of his countryman. What's his name?
Jimenez.
Jimenez, yeah.
Anyway, look, we've made the point. I think Supersport had a really bad day, and I hope they got the message. And I really hope today we don't get that shit like that. They must just cover like the featured groups today, and because if people will literally lose their minds. I know the real golf only starts much later, but it's still nice to watch like the guys watch normal coverage, watch guys teeing off, watch different highlights on the course. You don't need to see guys hitting like 200-meter shots into the 11th who are like at plus 11. It was really bad.
Terence, last point on that just before we move off. I know we've spent 2/3 of our 30 minutes on coverage takes before we've even got to like the golf, but the other thing that they've done, and this is, I thought they would at least for the majors not do this, is they've stopped the extended highlights on the highlights package on DSTV now. So, if you're not going to sit up and watch the entire Masters feed at 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock when it ends, or you're not going to sort of watch a period where it's a sort of a longer highlights package as it goes through sort of normal TV, that hour-long or 50-minute long highlights package has been removed. They don't do that anymore for any golf. I see now for the majors, it's 13-minute highlight package. It's 5-minute for other golf tournaments, but they don't have the extended highlights available
that sucks.
for golf anymore.
Yeah, that totally sucks because you miss everything. Basically, all you're going to see is guys hitting the winning putts. That's
the putting contest
shots. So it's not looking great for the Supersport golf division. That Monday morning like team meeting, there may be some comments. The guys may have received some feedback from some of their friends and family. So yeah, that's not good because I used to rely on those a lot because you want to watch it without feeling like you're watching like Supersport Blitz, seeing the winning putts.
As you
basically.
say, otherwise it's just putts.
Yeah, or like I don't know. Maybe we can petition to go across to the the British feed, the Sky feed or something.
Not the American feed, please.
That would be
there was a
sensational, honestly.
There was a guy on our group last night who said, no, he's in the UK and he's watching the Sky feed, and he said it's, and I quote, he said, "It's so terrible having to listen to Butch James commentate." And I was sitting there and like no one like responded, and guys were like, really? Like, geez, yeah, that sounds tough, And like I was sitting there and I was like, Butch James, like I was like, that can't be right, like that.
Butch Harmon.
And then I wrote back on the group, I was like, don't you mean Butch Harmon? And Oak was like, yeah, I did. And then he got Oaks was so upset that on this group, he then got nominated for a down, and he did like a live down on the WhatsApp group for claiming Butch James was commentating. So that was a highlight. That was one of the highlights of my evening, actually. But guys, I had a quick note here. A big day for the Augusta Horticulture Committee. I mean, that's the biggest wins they've had in like 30 years. Not a single tree on its side. I mean, they're going to be pretty chuffed at their Monday morning wrap-up.
100%. Well, whatever tests they did clearly worked. You're right. I mean, the course looked exquisite as always. Probably 90% painted, but we don't know the difference. So, yeah, at least someone's got a thumbs up in their Monday morning meeting.
Well, look, it is day 2. I mean, maybe all those trees were pushed right to their limit, and like today, like one oak's gonna like put his hand on one, and this oak's just gonna tumble over. Let's see what happens. We've got a couple of rounds to get through.
There's still time.
Let's talk players, guys, quickly. Who has really impressed you? Who do you think we're going to see in 48 hours' time? Who do you think's going to eject? I'll let you guys start. I'll let you start, JDV.
I'm gonna steal it from you guys and say Ludwig. I mean, the round that he shot yesterday was
Carl.
Unbelievable.
You're stealing the mic and you're stealing my thoroughbred.
That was Carl's prize puppy.
Yeah.
He's played some phenomenal golf. I mean, if he's played like he did yesterday in those conditions, and he can keep it together, I'm so interested to see. Imagine he wins the first major he plays in, Oaks. I mean, that's absolutely incredible, and he's not out of it. If you look at Bryson putting on the greens, and I feel for him because I've got a similar putting style. But shit, when you lose the feel, my God, that looked bad. And then you look at Ludwig, who just goes about his stuff. He's long, he's straight, he's
quick.
A little bit boring almost in the way that he plays his golf because it's just so solid. That's that I think for me as a player. And then just a quick one. Cam Smith grew his hair very quickly because I'm sure we were talking about how he cut his mullet off. And I saw him, and his bloody mullet is fully still there.
No,
so apparently that was an April Fool's joke. His Instagram post was an April Fool's joke. So I was totally was on that.
Fake
And
news.
he got me. But apparently it was surprising because he did look like a bit of a wet rat without a mullet. I want to second you on Ludwig. I think for me, what we spoke about, like Oaks getting emotional out there on the course, and on a day like yesterday, what I really love about professional golfers is that they are clearly they are superior at a sport that most of us find incredibly difficult. But what that comes with is that the ego of a professional golfer is at a level beyond most other professions. In order to be successful at what they've done, they have to have this enamel ego, which this belief in themselves, of how good they are. But with that comes, I think, a bit of a guard syndrome, where when things aren't going their way, you see how a lot of them wilt and melt down and complain and bitch about it wasn't, as we know, there's the whiners and the moaners out there. And on a day like yesterday, it's a perfect litmus test of how guys are going to perform when things don't go their way. Because let's be honest, there was stuff yesterday that was way out of the guy's control. A gust of wind can come up, balls can bounce in different ways. And Ludwig just has a bit like Scotty, in fact, a lot like Scotty, has a very consistent, calm demeanor. Considering his age, it really was impressive to see how well he just handled himself, handled his emotions, and just kind of the quality of golf that he plays. Great pick there, Hoff.
Yeah, I mean, things at the Masters can go two ways, and very rarely it goes the first way, which is where the leaders sort of continue, a second 68 or 7 or 66 kind of thing, and they get themselves some distance. Over the years, I mean, it does happen, but over the years, it's more that the leaders come back towards the field. And I'm hoping that happens. And as you say, JDB, that Ludwig can just carry on doing what he's doing and at least just be in the mix for Sunday. Because the way we saw it at the Ryder Cup, that oak came straight out of university and performed at the Ryder Cup. He looked nervous, of course he did, but he's almost like you described it so well, T. Like he's almost got like a bit of Federer-ness to him in how calm and composed he is. He just looks the absolute real deal. He really does. Maybe it's a bit of recency bias, but I truly do hope. Not just that because he was my pick, but I hope that he can get himself into the mix because it'll be so interesting to see him in, it is high pressure already, but in the ultimate high pressure situation on a Sunday or something. And to be honest, I just want him to play a solid third round, like a 2 under, 3 under third round. And I would actually prefer him not to be in the lead come Sunday, but be like 1 or 2 back. And then, so he doesn't feel that additional pressure. So he can absolutely go for it on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely the standout performer so far, especially from a rookie point of view.
Jacques, you had picked Bryson in your as your prize puppy, and I think when you made that pick, we all had some moans and groans. And I asked whether you wanted to take Bryson against Rahm, which you turned down. I feel for you for doing that, especially after Shane
Still
Lowry.
36 holes. There's still 36 holes.
That's true.
Sure, it is true, but I must say, 2 parts to Bryson. The one is that it's absolutely great to have him in the mix at a major. I think I said this on our preview show. It is so great. There's just a content machine, that guy. I mean, we don't have to rehash like all the things that he's given us over the years. But I mean, just in yesterday's round, watching him play. He's just a fascinating guy to watch. Not only play golf because of the sort of very unique way that he plays, but outside of the game, the content that he produces. I'm certain you saw the clip of him like lifting up the sign and carrying it down the fairway.
Tipping
it's super
his
cool.
hat,
I mean,
so that was classic.
Tipping his invisible hat. That was amazing. It is so great to have him and have him back in the mix, not just to be this goofy guy that we see on Live and we see on his like stupid YouTube videos, which, I mean, look, some of those are kind of interesting to watch as well. Hoff, you said in the beginning, you were like, you would love to see a kind of a top Live, top PGA guy, a kind of a duel. It may not be the guys that you were hoping for, but, we kind of have it at the moment. It's a bit of a 2-on-1 situation, but Cam Smith is potentially lurking as well, so there could be some storylines come Sunday.
Yeah, I think it just needs one really low third round for guys to get in the mix, and as I said earlier, the top of the field to sort of come back towards the field. The leaders to come back towards the field, and you've got a prime Sunday. I can't really remember. It's a bit difficult on my phone to see where Neiman's sitting, but I think he made a bit of progress yesterday, it seemed. So yeah, I mean, he's not the guy that I was hoping for from a Live perspective, but I'll certainly take it. I mean, if we're going to go down that Bryson route, I mean, it was a pretty epic round from him yesterday. Very like un-Bryson-esque. I mean, he still did some Bryson things, cutting corners and all of that kind of stuff, but it was a far more like mature round for Bryson, and as you say, Terence, I mean, he's a complete clown, but like I think a lot of the no laying up oaks and all of the guys in PGA Tour sort of based media were saying they really miss him, even though he's a clown, and I think it's true, because he is a character. So I'm actually, if you had told me 3 days ago Bryson was going to be at the top, I'd be like, oh, that sucks. But having actually watched it,
no, I'd be thrilled.
Obviously, but having watched it, it's actually quite lacquer. I hope Homer sort of falls off a little bit, so that it's a proper shootout between top guys like a Scheffler versus DeChambeau kind of thing.
I think what impressed me most what has impressed me most about Bryson this week is every time it looked like he was going to eject, he bounced back, and he followed up a lot of bogeys yesterday with birdies. He made a couple bogeys towards the end, like just lipping out a few putts on that. But every time I think that it's the beginning of the slide, he has bounced back with a birdie. So I'm after round one, I have to be honest with you. I thought he was going to fade, but now that he's still in the mix, I'm desperate for him to be around come the back nine on Sunday. I've totally flipped on it. I'm really desperate for him to be involved. Just a couple other names that I wanted to shout out, like a little bit further down the leaderboard. Pavon, the French guy, the Frenchman, I really thought he was gonna eject as well. So it's impressive to see him there. Tommy
Willett.
Fleetwood, typically a really good win player. Danny Willett, I mean, hell of a story that hasn't basically played a round of golf since like September last year. This is his first competition, and I think he's at -1, and he triple bogeyed the 18th. So, like he would literally be sitting tie for third.
I mean, he's come back from injury like,
interesting. Will be interesting
like
to
6 or
see
7 months
how that
earlier
goes.
than he was scheduled to get back. He was trying to get back for the Masters, and I think he had surgery, and they were only expecting him to come back in like 6 or 7 months. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Danny Willett fan, but I mean, it is. You can't hide from the fact that it's an amazing story. I thought when I first saw him up there on the first day, he was up there with sort of Christo Lamprecht. I was like, this oak's going to slide pretty fast. But as you say, he's kept at it. So I think that's been pretty epic to watch as well.
It's interesting. I heard a sort of an interview with him. It was sort of like, I think he was like, well, I'm probably just going to play 2 rounds at Augusta and just get a bit of feel back as part of my recovery process, because, hey, if you're a former champion, you absolutely have that right to do that. And you start thinking about, whether playing with that sort of freedom at a place that you've played at a lot, he's sort of playing almost like slightly no consequence golf, as opposed to one of your favorite golfers, Rory McIlroy, who just absolutely looks like he's got the weight of the world on him every time he arrives at Augusta. So amazing what that does to you in terms of expectations versus performance. Jacques, was there any other thoughts you had before we wrap up?
Yeah, firstly, I like to see Danny Willett in the mix. I don't know, Terence, you've got the Twitter handle. Is his brother got any pearlers on Twitter there that now that he's in the mix and trending again? I know that he pretty much got the entire US against him before that One Ryder Cup. So hopefully
I haven't
he comes
checked
out
in
with
on
some
his brother.
pearlers.
I will definitely do that. I'll pop on and see how brother Willett is.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to say, old Christo Lamprecht, I think we did have to have a moment of silence for what was really looking like a good tournament. And
Moment
in fact,
of silence
so good
for
that so my dad phoned me and said, no, so we've got this joint betting account, myself, my dad, and my brother. We've all got the password. And my dad manages it, and Sean also like bets on like chariot races and stuff at like 3 a.m. It's a bit crazy. But anyway, my dad says, we said bets are closed, no more bets on the Masters. And my dad says, no, he's made a bet on Christo. So I was like, oh, okay, well, Dad, yeah, he's playing good golf. That sounds like a good thing. Did you bet him top amateur? He says, no, top 20. And I'm like, what? What do you mean top 20? And he says, no. He's from the Western Cape, Christo Lamprecht. He says, no, he's been speaking to some guys at Knysna Golf Club who knew him when he was younger. And he's just a phenomenal golfer. So, he could make a top 20. I was like, Dad, John Rahm is a phenomenal golfer, and he's battling to make a flipping cut here. I think Christo Lamprecht, regardless of how phenomenal he is going to struggle. Needless to say, that prediction came true, and he ejected himself in round 2. So my dad said he would pay $100 back into the pot. That's how much he bet on it. But I said, no, you must stand by your bets and take the Rumbler for a shit bet. But yeah, sad to see Christo Lamprecht go, and that's the end of our top amateur hopes.
I wonder how much money bookies make off people who bet like a golfer that they once saw at their golf course come play, and they were like, yes, that's the best golfer I've ever seen, so he has to win, like he's definitely going to win this tournament they have on TV, I mean, it's just like understanding who the best golfer you've ever seen versus the other golfers that are at the tournament
Terence, there's no
important.
doubt you'd be betting on Pengi or Penge or whatever his name was if he was playing the Masters.
I think I said to you, Jacques, you have to see this guy. He is by far the best ball striker I've ever seen in my life, and I think he went on and missed the cut by like 7 shots, and I don't think he's made a cut since then. But I still believe, Jacques, when you see him hit the ball in person, that you're gonna be a believer. You're gonna join the camp. So we'll have to work out where his next tournament is.
Terence, my last one before we wrap it is Hoff owes you a bottle of wine for Lowry. making the cut. We are still very much in play for our bottle of wine with Lowry at +3 and Sahith at +4. So that's all to play
It's
for
going to be
there.
a great game within a game, that one.
I just want to give
And
out.
I've got
I feel
both
like
of those
this
guys
is a little bit
in my golf
Drive
champs
to
team as
Survive,
well.
where we're focusing on like
Yeah,
Haas
I've got
versus
Sahith.
Aston Martin, or Haas versus Alfa Romeo, or something like that.
It's all about how you build the drama off. It's going to be at the bottom of the table. Steve, give ourselves.
Yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say,
sorry,
Steve,
Speed,
give ourselves some high fives because we all called him being super shit before. We all said I cannot understand how that guy was in the top 10 in the bets or in the odds, and yeah, he completely ejected. So we called that one. And then before you go, and I'll hand it over to you guys, maybe you want to chat about it, but we can come back to it, is how the Goat Track Golf Champs is doing. It's pretty interesting seeing the top of the Goat Track, the guy who's leading it, a man by the name of Hanko Kutsia.
No, thanks, Jacques. I'm glad you brought that up because I actually had that pulled up here as well. So shout out to Hanko Kutsia. We are halfway through Golf Champs, and he has a unique pick in our pool. Clearly because he is sitting on -9, and his team is Scotty, Cam Smith, Bryson, and Rory. So interesting picks. I must say I'm really vibing on Scotty and Cam Smith. I'm starting to vibe a bit more on Bryson in terms of longevity. I got to be honest, I'm not sure what we can expect from Rory over these next 2 days. He could play with complete freedom and end up in a backdoor top 5, which is normally what he does at the Masters.
That's what I was going to say. That's what he wears. This is when he comes.
But those are nice picks. I like that side.
Old Raws. So can I also say Spieth? I think he made his like 3rd or 4th or 5th like score of 9 or worse on. I think it's the 15th. So he no, it's a par. I think it's a par 5.
The 12th is this? Isn't that the par 3?
So he ejected himself. Justin Thomas. Yeah, they're kind of a little trio there. Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Spieth, who seem to rely on their reputations. They're taking a bit of a dicking at the moment.
I watched that 9. Sorry, but before I actually say that, I just wanted to. So yeah, Hanko Kutsia is leading. He's only got a 1-shot lead though, and there's a lot to happen. And then I had to give a quick shout out onto the Pies and Gravy pool that I'm on. And the gentleman who is winning that, as I said, the pot is significant, north of 50K. Chap by the name of Bruce Ferguson. His picks are Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, Cameron Smith, and Tommy Fleetwood. Really vibing on those picks. Total rank of 102. Got to say, I like the long-term longevity of those guys come Sunday.
Terence, on the other end of the spectrum, can I give a shout out to old Mr. Paul Somerville, who's coming stone last in the Goat Track, and just spare a thought that he picked 3 players to miss the cut, which probably didn't seem too bad when he picked them. Jordan Spieth, Victor Hovland, Dustin Johnson, and his lone flag bearer is Brooks Koepka. Which, to be honest, without knowing what we know now, that doesn't seem terrible, those 4 guys. But my goodness, he's combined to +32, and yeah, it's a tough scene.
It has been a real crapshoot of a golf champs, and I must say the one thing that has stood out to me is when you look at some guys' teams and you go, 2 years ago, this guy's team, the total ranking would have been about 15, So some of the squads that people have been able to assemble have just been mind-blowing. I mean, I was actually looking at, shout out to our guy, Johan Els in our Geo Africa pool. I was looking at his team, and I was like, how on earth, like the fact that this is an actual team that you can pick now I see he's actually dropped down the leaderboard, but his team was Cam Smith, Victor Hovland, Will Zalatoris, and Rory. I mean, 2 years ago, the combined rank of those guys would have been less than 15. I'm pretty sure it would have been. So, golf champs has certainly become.
I've got
very interesting.
Victor.
Are you guys
Victor
still
Hovland
in
missed the
it?
cut.
Have you got anyone who's missed the cut? Sergio is gone.
Yeah, Sergio. Shit off, and you played by the
and
proper
my,
rules. So,
my
and
lapdog,
you're
sorry, I
like
thought he was a
probably
street
what you
dog, but
thought
my
was a
lapdog,
banker, Mr. Cat.
Ollison, he had a tough day yesterday, but he managed to just scrape in, which was a huge relief. Yeah, so I'm actually quite stoked.
Buy
with
Justin
mine.
Thomas a drink.
I would have loved Victor to make it, but I'm proud that I went. We spoke about it on our pod, and I stuck to it. Unlike someone else I know at the bottom of my screen in a K-Way jacket, but I'm disappointed in Vic, but on to good things for Ludwig. Come on, my boy.
Well, I feel like I sort of vaguely stuck to it as well, Hoff, because I did have John Rahm on my team, but he's a number 3 rank, so it's not like I was going out on a Sergio limb or something like that. But I've never had a team of such middlemen in the leaderboard that all somehow made the cuts. So I had Sahith, who's at +4, Rahm's at +5, I've got Corey Connors at +2, and Shane Lowry at +3. So I'm sitting at +14, but I'm alive. I'm actually behind you on the log,
Nice.
JDV, but I'm alive. I'm going to fight another day. So, very, very, very happy with that. Awesome, guys. Well, very look forward to doing a post-mortem and getting as little sleep as possible over the next few days. Still haven't quite worked out my strategy if I'm going to do a full watch.
Also, a quick shout
tonight,
out to
or if I'm going to save myself and go all in on Sunday.
For bringing up Danny Willett. I think that was a pluck. But also maybe a shooter for him for Peter Malnati.
Yeah.
So, shout out to you, Tucky.
Yeah, he was coming stone last.
Well, Danny. Well, Tucky he brought up Danny Willett, but then he walked straight past him and he took Malnati. So I don't know if it is a shout out. I actually sent him a WhatsApp yesterday because Malnati started birdie, and I said to him, "Oof, maybe he shouldn't cancel his flights just yet." At that stage, he had got it back to 8 over. Little did we know the cut would only be 6 over. So, but anyway, he unfortunately the young man couldn't keep it up. Guys, quick 2 games within a game. Phil versus Tiger. Their final position on Sundays.
I'm gonna go full.
Phil's at +4, Tiger's at +1.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go full. I think Tiger's played his best to make the cut, which is flipping incredible. Don't get me wrong, but he was looking pretty sore walking off there. I mean, he was almost looked like he was wobbling a bit.
Yeah. And then last one, Neiman versus Rory. They're both sitting at +4. They both had really bad rounds yesterday. They both shot 77.
This is where Rory starts playing his best Masters golf.
Yeah, Rory will get better.
Backdoor top 5. I like it. It was really epic watching that 4th hole yesterday. It's straight into the teeth of the wind. The guys are hitting like 200. It's like playing like 240 yards. Most of the guys are hitting like 2 irons, not getting to the green.
Or you could be like Bryson and smother a 5-iron into the proper shit at the back.
Yeah, it was honestly fascinating golf. Besides the fact that it was, in some ways, maybe we can thank Supersport that we had to watch the same hole over and over and over again, because at least you could build up a bit of like viewing history on geez, I'd love to see the shot thing of like where everyone's tee shots landed, because I think I saw like 3 guys actually hit the green. I think Phil came up like 40 meters short. It was, and then seeing guys trying to get up and down like to those pins. Yes, guys. The one thing our mole in Augusta I think is 100% spot on about is that most of us would shoot like 150 on that course. It looks so difficult.
Last thing I wanted to just shout out Terence was Ryan Fox channeling his inner Cole Hoffman on that one pitch shot on the par 5 where he laid up and then hit it about
I've got a good short game.
half a meter behind the ball.
on day one.
that fat shot half is your miss when it gets going. You either strike it absolutely pure, but yes, it's that did have little whiffs of when you're hitting it fat.
that 13th hole that they reckon you have no, like the TV doesn't do justice for how like sloped that fairway is. So I mean the guys who are trying to hit the green in 2, that ball is so far above your feet and you're hitting like a 200 meter plus shot. I saw so many, I mean Morikawa, just so many of the guys who are like really good iron players just like dump it in the creek. And then even if you lay it up like Fox did, now you're sitting on like a downhill. It doesn't look fun. I honestly don't know what I would do on that hole. Maybe it's easier just to hit it in the creek and then just try and get up and down. Gents, enjoy the next couple of days.